All right, thank you, friends and neighbors, for coming on back. I want to talk a little bit more about what we talked about, and I'm going to ask my question, but there's a couple of things I want to throw in. Meg, you just mentioned Bob McCarty. Bob McCarty is the director for the National Federation for Catholic Youth Ministry, and this is one of my favorite lines, and it makes sense, but sometimes when you put words to common sense, it gives power. The leading cause of burnout in ministers is not theological differences. The leading cause in ministers leaving the field is not low pay. The leading cause of burnout in ministers are multiple and unclear expectations. And I would add a third one, unrealistic. Unrealistic. You put those three in there. The leading causes of burnout in ministers today, multiple and unclear expectations. I need one married man to be a volunteer, and it can't be Paul because I don't trust him. All right, I need one married man who wants to be a volunteer. No, you can't volunteer him, Tim. He got to volunteer on his own. I need one married man. Who's going to do it? Quickly, quickly, quickly. Come on up, brother. Come on up. Come on up. Come on up. Another deacon. Come on, deacon, 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 deacon. All right, deacon.
How are you?
Deacon Tim, welcome. Let's step over this way if you would. All right, deacon. What we're going to do here is we're going to play a little game show entitled, What Did My Wife Really Mean? Okay? Now.
Obviously, I was wrong.
Your wife's here?
Yeah, right there. I'm a dead man, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the new movie, Dead Man Walking. All right, here we go. All right, here we go. All right, now, Deacon, the toughest question I'm going to ask you is the first one, and I'm going to give you a second because it's kind of unfair to put anybody on the spot. Here it is. How long have you been married is the question.
30 years.
30 years. That's awesome. My wife and I, 28. Or as we say, 56. 28 apiece, but it's 56. All right, there you go. All right. All right. Here's the thing. Welcome. We're going to give you three rounds here on the program. And here's what's going to happen. I'm going to say something my wife said, and you don't even have to know my wife. Deacon, the job is not to solve the problem. The question I'm asking you is sort through the mess and tell me what the real message is. Okay? Ready? And you're going to do well. If you've been married 30 years, you got this. Ready? Question number one. Question number one. My wife, Marlene, says to me, hey, Mike. Yes, sweetheart. Are you going to pick up Megan or do you want me to pick up Megan? What did my wife really mean?
She wants me to pick her up.
Survey says? Yeah. One lady said, and make supper. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I've been married 28 years, and it took me about 10 years to figure that one out. We're at some party, and I had a little beverage. I'm having a good time, and my wife says, hey, Megan forgot her swimsuit. Do you want to go pick it up, or do you want me to go? I'm like, you could go. So my wife left in a huff, and my good friend Ellen popped me on the arm. I'm like, hey, she's mad. What's the problem here? She goes, don't you think that if your wife were going to pick up the swimsuit, she would have said, hey, I'm going to pick up Megan's swimsuit? She would have just informed you. I'm like, well, then why did she frame it in the form of a question? She goes, she wanted you to think you had a choice in the matter. Question number two, Deacon, here we go. Mike, yeah, baby. Are the clothes in the dryer done yet? What did my wife really mean? No, hey, no help from the studio audience.
I don't. What did she really mean?
What did she really mean?
She wanted me to go get them.
Go take the laundry out, fold them, and... See, you're learning something here. It's an educational program right here, right there. Right? Question number three, Deacon. That's all right. You're 1 for 2. I think you're going to solve this one, and maybe not because of the Erie thing. Let's find out. Question number 3, my wife says, hey, Mike. Yeah, baby. You're not cold. You're not cold. What does my wife really mean?
Turn up the heat.
Ladies and gentlemen, there he goes.
Well done. Fairness, though, I do the laundry, so...
He does the laundry. He knew what it meant. I knew he knew what it meant. Now watch this. I'm going to tell you. This is not just a male problem. Are there any happily married women here among us today? I was about to say, I can't wait to go on my website. No happily married women in Erie. All right, stand up. Stand up. What's your name? Shonane. I like that name. All right, I'm going to ask you one question. You don't have to know me. What does it mean when I say, honey, have you seen my keys? What do I really mean?
Can you help me find my keys?
All right? Anybody else want to? Anybody else? Anybody else? I'm not saying that's wrong. Anybody else? Anybody else want to weigh in?
Find my keys.
Find my keys. What did you do with my keys? Where'd you put my keys? And one lady said, and could you point out where the car is? All right? Have a seat, please. No, but watch this. In my house, I'm going to tell you what it means. I don't care, darling, if you are solving a cure for the common cold or cancer. We have a national security crisis. Please stop what you're doing and help me find my keys. Now, I have to tell you all this. I know it's an adult program, so if this gets out, Rich, it's on your head. All right? But the funniest one I ever did, I'm doing this in a church full of people, and there's this woman right there, and I walked up to her, I says, and what does it mean when I say, honey, have you seen my keys? She looked me square in the eye, she goes, it means you want sex. Now look, it's hard to make me speechless. I'm like, no ma'am, sometimes I just want the keys, but thank you, I appreciate that. And what was funny was it was in a part of a 3-night mission. The next night I'm standing with the presider, we're getting ready to process in the church, and this guy comes up and he goes, sorry, we're a little late, Mike, we were looking for the keys. How many of you, either when you were a child or men to this day, how many of you ever heard this one? You're not going out dressed like that, are you? That ain't a question. That means I must look like a clown, let me go change. That's what that means. But what happens is, those are what we call unclear expectations. There's also multiple expectations sometimes too, huh? If I'm getting ready to take young people on a retreat at a high school, the kids, they have expectations. This better not suck, dude. The religion class, the religion faculty, I hope you can reinforce the doctrinal material that we're covering this year. Yeah, Inquisition goes well with retreat. That's beautiful right there. Parents, hey, this is their senior retreat. Could you unite them as a class? Yeah, they've been going to school 11 years and I got 6 hours. Yeah, we'll make that happen, sure. And the principal has expectations. Nobody better die. Thanks for setting the bar so high. And then you have expectations about Jesus, community, sacrament, grace. How do you weave all that in together? It's crazy. And the funny thing is you take those multiple ones, you can't please everybody. The diocese has expectations, your pastor has expectations, parents have expectations, kids have expectations, the parish council has expectations, finance manager has expectations, da-da-da-da-da-da. And if that ain't bad enough, those unclear ones, those unspoken ones. And because we don't talk the way we mean, they start to get heavy. I'm going to say something about that in a minute. I had a pastor. He was amazing. He was probably one of the 3 best. He died a year and a half ago. God rest his soul, Father Terrio. It was amazing. He was so supportive of youth. And man, I was getting brave, man. I was telling all my people, I got this great idea. We're going to blah, 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 blah. And they said, well, I don't think it's going to work. I said, you don't understand. He's so pro-youth. This is going to be the bomb. I got that. Hey, well, go pitch it. So I go pitch it to him, and he's listening. And his eyes are, and he's listening. He goes, that's interesting. And I went back, and the staff said, hey, how'd it go? I said, he listened. He said, that's interesting. And they laughed at me in the face. I said, what? That's what he says when he doesn't know what to say. And I started paying attention at staff meetings, and whenever an idea was doomed to bomb, he goes, that's interesting. And I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me I didn't have a chance? What happens is we don't talk the way we think we do. We do a lot of passive-aggressive stuff sometimes with people on staff. Huh? And what happens when those unclear expectations, I have this buddy of mine, Doug. Doug is a romantic. Doug kidnaps his wife of 30 years. Be healed! I was going to need one of the deacons come and do exorcism up here or something. Right? Doug is a true romantic. He kidnaps his wife of 30 years 3 times a year. Will call her boss. She's a dental hygienist. will call her boss and say, I'd like to kidnap Bertha 3 weeks from today, take her at noon, bring her to a bed and breakfast. He knows what to pack in her bag. I hate Doug. He makes all the rest of the brothers look bad. One night, Doug and his wife Bertha and me and Marlene are having supper, and Doug floats this out ever so gently. He says, you know, it would be nice every once in a while if maybe that kind of gesture were reciprocated. And Bertha, who's a good Cajun woman, she's the Cajun version of Roseanne Barr. Some of you know who that is, some of you don't. There's no thought that don't come out. It just, boom, it just keeps going. And she said, Doug, and it's a phenomenal line. It may not be funny to you, but it's funny to me. She had this movie, Doug, there's a movie going on in your head, and I got the lead role, but I ain't got the script. Sometimes your catechist, hey, DRE, there's a movie going on in your head about what I'm supposed to be doing, and I got the lead role, but I ain't got the script. Sometimes we hold that over our pastors. Your pastor could walk up to you and say, hey, evidently you have some idea about what a pastor should do with young people. So there's a movie going on in your head, and I got the lead role, but I ain't got the script. You ain't never told me. You think just because I was ordained, I know that automatically? No. And that's the stuff, believe it or not, that wears people down and burns us out. Years ago, a buddy of mine came back from a meeting, and there were all kinds of people there. He goes, Mike, man, he said, you know what? When you asked me to work for this office, they should have given us a uniform with a Superman crest on the front and a bullseye on the back. Because when people see us coming, we can do everything. We can solve their kids' ADD problem. We can make them not have sex. We can get them to love God. We can get them to do service work. No. But as soon as our backs are turned, those clueless idiots have no idea what goes on in the real world. They have no idea what it takes to parent today. And I'll be honest with you, I thought that was a phenomenal statement. I said, and guess what? The uniform, Superman, is made out of Velcro. Because all of a sudden, when somebody sees you coming, they think that's something you could tackle. Well, maybe we could get the young people to set up the blah, 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 blah. Or maybe you could do this. See, Catholic system's the opposite of the real world. In the real world, you're always worried where your next job is going to come from. Not in the Catholic Church, Jack. Once you get in, how do you get out? You can't. Because all you want to do was teach your child third grade religion. Now you're in charge of the Dunkin' booth at the fair, and the Pope called you and wants you to be a secretary. How did that happen, huh? And all these expectations start to carry weight. I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to ask you a question. My niece Delana, Uncle Mike, be my sponsor for confirmation. Happy to. Well, good. Confirmation's on Thursday, rehearsal on Wednesday. I'll be there to pick you up. Now, my brothers, I showed pictures last night at supper. My brothers, if you've ever seen Duck Dynasty, have you seen Duck Dynasty? My brothers could pass for those cats on Duck Dynasty. Beards, live on the bayou, sold their home, bought a hunting camp, refurbished it into a nice home so they can hunt and fish all the time. Drive 30, 40 miles in to do their jobs, but come back so they can go out and be on the bayou. They love it. Now, my brother had just bought this camp where Delana lives. I'd never been there because I was living in New Orleans. So it's the night of confirmation rehearsal. I'm running late, so I'm hitting it. The only way you can get to this camp is by Levee Road. Levee's big hill of dirt that keeps water in or out except at Katrina, okay? So you got this big hill of dirt, and I'm late, and it's raining cats and dogs and small farm animals. Pouring down rain, I miss a curve, I ditched the truck less than 45 minutes for rehearsal. So now I got to hustle. And I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I saw a farmhouse 750 yards back. I went and knocked on the door. The old farmer says, what can I do for you? I said, Mr. Truck. Oh, son, you all right? Yeah, but I got to be somewhere. He says, what do you want me to do? I said, could I borrow your phone? He said, son, look at the weather. Electricity and phone lines are down. I said, mister, the town's 7 miles back. I saw it. Could we go get the tow truck man? I could still get out. I could still make it. He goes, boy, I'd love to, but my truck is in the shop. Hey, mister, is that your tractor right there? He goes, yep, that's my tractor right there. I said, that's awesome. Maybe we can use the tractor and pull it out. He goes, I'd love to, but that tractor ain't worked in 10 years. I said, well, you ain't a lot of help. He goes, I ain't the one stuck in the ditch. I said, mister, this is for somebody else. He goes, boy, don't worry. This is a job for Blue. Blue, what's Blue? He goes, Blue's my mule. Now, the first thing I thought of, you young people ain't going to know, first thing I thought of was the Beverly Hillbillies, right? I mean, and look, he brought out a mule. It was terrible. It was terrible. First thing I thought of when I saw this mule is, I am not riding to church with my niece. Here's Uncle Mike. Here's Uncle Mike. He said, you're not going to ride the mule. We're going to use the mule to pull it. I said, mister, that's a 2-ton dually. I know mules are strong, but ain't no mule strong enough. He goes, boy, you don't know Blue. We argued a while. I said, mister, he goes, son, do you want to spend the night here? I'm like, no, let's get the mule. Come on, come on. This mule, sway back, flea bit. I thought it was going to die on the way to the truck. He put one end of that harness around the axle. He put the other end around the mule's neck and said, come on, Blue, pull! Some people say that's their favorite part of the whole day right there. All right, anyway. Nothing happened. Not a thing happened. I looked at the farmer. He looked at me. Come on, Sparky, put your back in it, son. You got to worry when somebody calls a mule son. I'm going to just tell you that right there, all right? Come on, son, pull. The truck started to rock a little bit. I looked at the farmer. Come on, Elmer. Put your back in it, or I'm going to bring you to glue factory. Let's go. Pull it. Yell, pull, rock, yell, pull, rock, yell, pull, rock. Finally, the back wheels come over the lip of the levee. I fired that bad boy in the reverse. Thank you, mister. What I owe you? He said, you owe me anything. I said, yes, sir, I do. I owe you an apology. I knew mules were strong because I grew up in the country, but I have never seen a mule that strong. That's a remarkable animal. But I'm confused. He says, what's that? I said, well, here you are. Yeah, come on, Blue. Come on, Sparky. Come on, Elmer. But that mule's name is Blue. He looked at me. He goes, yeah, I can understand why you're confused. But his name is Blue. But what you don't know is Blue's blind. If he thought he was the only mule pulling that truck, he never would have pulled it that hard. The reason I tell you the story is, without being disrespectful, I'm looking at a room full of Blue, bunch of stubborn you-know-whats, who ain't the most educated, or strong, or majestic, or flashy, but they what God wants to use to pull the truck. So my question before break comes into play right now. Look at me in the face. I'm going to give you about 3-4 minutes with your neighbor to discuss this one, but look at me. This is not a spiritual merit badge competition. We are not seeing whose answer is more noble and holy sounding than the next. I need you to be blunt, honest. Why do you do it? Not why do people do it. Why do you still work for the church, doing stuff for young people and their families? Why? I need benefits. I'm semi-retired. It gives me something to do. I don't care what your answer is. I just need the truth. With you and your neighbor, I don't know why. Today's making me realize this is too much. That's fine. Whatever answer you come up with is perfectly fine as long as it's honest and we're not comparing. So I'm going to give you 3 or 4 answers. Not why do people do it. Don't talk to me in generalities. You need to go a little bit more personal. Why do you still do this kind of work? Got 4 minutes. Ready, set, go. You do not need to impress anybody here. I just like a very short synopsis, and I do mean short. But I would like some people to personally say, here's why I do it. All right? Let's go. Let's see what you got. Let's see what you got. Somebody start us off. Tim.
Jesus asked me to.
Jesus asked you to. I'm going to ask you a question, wholly answer, because I'm going to come back to it.
Okay.
How, and it's not, the question is part probing to probe, but the question is part a very big Mike Patin curiosity as Mike Patin gets older. How do you know Jesus asked you? Don't answer it now. I'm going to come back to that. All right? Other people. There's no right or wrong, and you can echo somebody else's answer. I just want to hear other people. Here's why I do it. Here's why I do it.
These young people they need us. They need me.
They need you.
Absolutely.
What do you have that they need?
Information to talk to me. They have issues they need to work through.
Okay. They need somebody to talk to.
Absolutely.
They need information.
Yes.
They need another way to look at what they're going through.
It's a calling.
It's a calling. I'm going to ask you later, how do you know? Don't answer it now. I'm going to come back to that. Other people, there's no right or wrong. Yes, ma'am?
I do it because I just like to share the faith, and I like to, because of my needs to do that.
Because I see other young people. I see other young people. There's a wonderful story of an 80-year-old man planting apple seedlings in the hot sun. And the little 4-year-old comes up to him, Mister, what you doing? He says, well, I'm planting apple trees. Young boy looks at him in the hot August sun, sweating. He goes, Mister, I don't see no apples. How you know it's an apple tree? He says, well, wait a minute. This is a little tree. You see how you're a little guy and you're going to be grow up to be big like your dad? Well, that's what this tree's going to do. And the little boy, being real practical, goes, but mister, how long you think it's going to be before I can have an apple? He said, oh, I don't know, son. It might be 5 or 10 years before you can have an apple. The little boy looked at the seedling, and he looked at the old man, and he goes, mister, I don't want to be ugly, but I think you're going to be dead. And the gentleman said, he says, you know what? You're absolutely right. But I've eaten a lot of apples in my day, and I've sat under a lot of apple tree shade. I'm just making sure that when it's your turn, you have some. And so for many of us, we've seen it, we've tasted. 1 John chapter 1, we proclaim to you what we have seen and what we have touched. Because we want you to share in our fellowship with Jesus and the Father. We want you to taste this. You may think we're a three-headed animal. How many of you, when somebody says, hey, have you tried, and they give you some weird combination of foods? Huh? You look at them like they're weird, but you try like, hey, that wasn't half bad. My favorite, 3 years ago, I should always carry some, and I didn't bring some with me, and I'm kind of upset with myself. 3 years ago, I had the croup while trying to present, and when you're a speaker, when you don't have your pipes to go, just had this congestion. And this woman comes up to me afterwards, and she says, have you tried Vicks Vapor Rub? I looked at her and said, ma'am, I'm from Louisiana. We call that cologne, all right? I mean, you put that here, it doesn't matter. And then she looked at me. Now, some of you are going to know what I'm talking about. Some of you ain't going to know what I'm talking about. She goes, no, have you put it on the soles of your feet? I said, ma'am, I don't know what kind of kinky things y'all do here in Chicago, but Vicks Vapor Rub goes right here. It goes right here. But I'm going to tell you, I had tried Sudafed, Alka-Seltzer, Tylenol, Sinus, you name it, I had tried it. So when I went home, I checked with the thing that I consult for all things authoritative. I looked it up on the Google. And it says there's no scientific proof either way, blah, 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 blah. But I'm tired of hacking up a lung. So I put some. For those of you, how many of you honestly have never heard this remedy? If you've never heard it, put your hands high in the air. This surprises me a little, but it doesn't, because most groups it's a 50-50 split. So I go home and I put, now here's what they mean. You just rub Vicks Vapor Rub on the sole of your feet right before you fall asleep. Put on some socks. Now Mike Patin is going to help you out. Put on white socks. Because I put on black socks and coughed up a hairball in the shower the next morning. I am not making this up, people, all right? So you put, and you do it 2 nights and it takes 80% of the congestion. This is not for asthma. This is not for the flu. This is for congestion. Well, now all of a sudden, I become the leading salesperson across the United States of America for the Vicks Vapor Rub. Do I get a kickback from the Vicks company? Do I get free samples? No. Drew Brees, who already has more money than God, gets the... I don't get it. So why do I tell people? Why do I bother telling people? Because it works. Because I don't want them to suffer. I'm doing a conference and I'm talking to catechists and I'm using this example. I go to such and such restaurant. I'm going to break this thing yet if it kills me. I go to such and such restaurant and they got a new dessert, mint chocolate chip, that you ate all of it last night. Because I didn't want to have no satanic stuff in me. You did it, you did it, you did it. All right? Oh, hey, you got to go to the brewery. They got this new chocolate chip. Ding dong, boom. Hey, did you see the movie Unbroken? Oh, powerful. Blah, 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 blah. Hey, did you hear the new song by Matt Maher? Blah, 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 blah. Do you get a kickback from Matt Maher? No. Do you get a free movie pass to see? No. I want to talk to you about somebody named Jesus and the community of people who follow him. You look at us like we're three-headed beasts. And I'm telling this to adults, and I've got the Vicks Vapor Rub, and it's a nice sit-down dinner for youth ministers, the bishop's there, there's wine, it's been catered, steaks. It's awesome. I'm the little keynote speaker, and I'm doing the Vicks Vapor Rub, and I'm into the Vicks Vapor Rub. And you can see the bishop leaning over to the vicar general. He goes, what is this Vicks Vapor Rub? The bishop has a little cough. So at the end of the night, I take my, Bishop, that's for you. Go invest in a couple of pairs of white socks. Try that. Try that. About a week later, I'm at home. One of my buddies says, hey, Mike, turn on your TV. I'm like, what for? He goes, Today Show. I'm like, what? He goes, there's some doctor from Johns Hopkins. And he's talking about the Vicks Vapor Rub. All right, click. There is no medicinal proof. It is an old wives' tale. I'm yelling at the TV, you wrong! You wrong! You don't know! And I'm yelling at the TV, right? 2 days later, I get a letter, Office of the Bishop, blah, 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 South Carolina. And I expect it to be a thank you for speaking and giving a word of hope to youth ministers, blah, 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 blah. Open it up, no signature, official bishop stationery, Sharpie, 3 words. It really works. Pope Paul VI, in his document on evangelization, the world won't listen to teachers, but it will listen to witnesses. We witness to you what we have seen and heard and touched concerning the word of life. We're compelled. Other people, why do you do it? I'm sorry, Vicks Vapor Rub came to mind because I wanted to get some. What else? Why do you do it? There's no right or wrong. Why do you do it?
You got to give it away to keep it.
There's something about when I share it, and I'll be honest with you, every time I do a presentation and I got to bump up against this material, every time I got to bump up against this stuff, the word many times has some effect on me. We're going to get to that in a few minutes. Other people, other people, other people. Why do you do it?
If I don't, who will?
If I don't, who will? So you got a little Messiah complex going, don't you there, love? Yeah. Priest friend of mine. Hey, get off the cross. Somebody else needs the wood. But there is something to it. Well, somebody ought to, somebody ought to, somebody ought to. I'm somebody. Not everybody, but I'm somebody. Other people, why do you do it? There's no right or wrong. You can repeat somebody's answer. Why do you do it?
Love the people.
Hang on, she had her hand up.
Sorry.
It's America. All right, go ahead.
Well, basically, when I was a little girl, wanted to be a missionary going to Africa and, to see those pictures. I said, I want to be like that. But then, of course, it didn't happen. And when I had my children, I once shared this story with them. And my daughter, one of my children, said, when she was about 6 years old, says, Mom, but you are a missionary. And I said, what do you mean? She says, well, you are teaching us about Jesus. So that really, touched my heart a lot. And I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. It's a gift of tears.
Because I think our faith is so wonderful, and I just want to share it with all of you.
There's 2 things I hear in there. Number one, I love that word missionary. We are. We're missionaries to our culture, and for those of us specifically working with the young, that culture changes so rapidly. But missionaries meet the culture where they are and bring Jesus in because they know there's something already there. See, that's the difference between Catholic and Protestant in theology. I don't want to get too theological, but a Protestant, I have to give them Jesus because they're decrepit and depraved. Whereas Catholic, no, we were created good. There's a veil, and we want to uncover that. That's the difference between Catholic and Protestant theology when it comes to evangelization. People are good, but we want to share the good news with them. Missionaries, I've tasted it. I want them to share. Sometimes our adult children don't share the same flavor we do, and they choose other flavors. But I want to share because it's too good. So some people be like, oh, your ice cream analogy is weak. I don't like ice cream. I'm like, cool, we got sherbet. Come on. We got sprinkles. Have a cone. Do something, but you're welcome here. Any others? Any others? There's not one I'm looking for. I'm going to get some in a minute, and I'm going to try to bring us to lunch. Give me something else. Anybody else? Anybody else? Repeat. You can repeat an answer. You can give me another. What was yours, Deacon?
Just love of people.
I love people. They're freaks. They're weird. They make me feel okay.
So am I.
Yeah. But there's something, as weird and different as I am, we got something in common. It's a small world, and we're in this together. And watch, I don't want to go overly spiritually with you, but that's one of the devil's great tricks. I don't like to talk about the enemy. The enemy is like, let me separate you to make you think you're the only one going through this stuff at your church. Let me make you think you're the only one who, devil's slick, because he knows when he breaks us up, no, everybody else is struggling. Last night I asked these people, tell me about the Church of Erie. And they talked to me about positives and negatives. And I'm wondering, are we normal? Is that like everywhere else? Yes! You are. You've got your uniqueness, but you're the same. We're the same. And we're in this together. So you young ones, I want you to look at some of the silver-haired people in here. And I know what you're thinking, like, they need to move on. They need to move. And in one sense, you might be right. In another sense, you might be wrong. Because they've been here. They've seen changes. They know some stuff. And you people who've been here and look at these and say, oh, little Susie come lately. I don't think she's going to last 2 years. Hey, they bring energy. They bring some connection to a culture that can help those of us who've been seasoned, who will never be black belts in technology. They help us figure some stuff. We need one another. And it's okay to be butterscotch pecan and spumoni and chunky monkey and whatever weird flavor they're coming up with next. We need one another. I like people because the incarnation still happens. The Word becomes flesh. Dude, that's a different way to look. Everybody loves something, lost something, struggling with something, searching for something. That's a different way to look at things. Anyone, last one, then I'm going to move us on for lunch. Oh, now I got the good, I got hands going everywhere. Go one quick. Let's go.
I used to feel the love of God as deeply as I feel.
I got mine, but it's so good I want you to have some.
Facing Christ is a platform I built in ministry. Facing Christ and the others, and hopefully seeing the others seeing Christ in me.
May we see Christ in others. May we be Christ to others so that He may be in us and we may be in them and we may be one. Way in the back.
Introduce him to my friend Jesus.
Introduce him to my friend. He's a little bit quirky, a little bit different. But man, you're going to have your own relationship with him and it has made a difference. All good answers. Why do you do it? I'm watching the clock to see how much time I have. We're in shape, Patin. Let's go. Here we go. All right, why do you do it? 3 guys laying bricks. 3 guys laying bricks. One guy here, you can tell he's having a bad day. Somebody ticked this brother off. You could tell, because he's... Another guy 20 yards over. His is about, I don't know, 4.5 foot, and he's meticulous, but man, he's pouring sweat. Hot summer day. 20 yards over, we got a guy on a ladder, 8, 9 feet tall. Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-day. So all of a sudden, the man on the street interviewer comes and says, we got to ask some questions here. Sir, excuse me, I'm with such and such blah, blah, blah TV station. What are you doing? The guy turns and goes, what's the matter, son? You blind or you ignorant? I'm working with substandard materials in subhuman conditions for a clueless idiot who doesn't know his head from a hole in the ground, and you just interrupted me. Sorry, sir. Just checking. 20 yards over, here's our guy. Excuse me, sir, blah, blah, blah. Man on the street interview, what are you doing? The guy wipes the sweat from his brow. He says, I have a wife and 4 kids at home. And that man over there said if I built him a wall, he'd pay me so many dollars an hour. I'd rather be working in air conditioning, but I got to put bread on the table, so this is what I got to do. 20 yards over, hi-ho, it's off to work. Excuse me, what are you doing? And the guy turns to him and looks at him with a look of disbelief. He wipes the sweat from his brow. He goes, can't you tell? I'm building a great cathedral. 3 guys doing the same thing. The only thing that made the difference was how they looked at it. Now, don't get me wrong. It's a great illustration, but I ain't stupid. I got the greatest job in America, speaker boy. I do. I got the greatest job in America, but there's some days I'm this guy right here. I've been home a total of probably 40 hours in Lent so far. And 3 days were stolen from me because of the lovely climate of the upper Northeast. Not because y'all don't know how to handle it, but evidently Dallas and Atlanta don't know what to do when it gets cold. But here I am. The other days, just get me to Friday. Give me my paycheck. I'm out. How many days are here? Huh? About 2 years ago, I had my 35th reunion from the lovely high school, and I hadn't seen some of my classmates in 10, 15 years, standing around a little cocktail party. We got Mark, computer programmer, IBM. We got David, bank vice president. David, attorney. Richard, OBGYN. Janet, published social worker. Michelle, accountant for the richest private school in Florida. And Mike, the youth guy. And they look at me, you still doing that thing with kids? When you gonna get a real job? They should have never done that. Because I looked at them and said, yeah, I'm still doing that. But there ain't no job more real than what I do. Because you see, I touch salvation history every day. Tell me again what it is you do. I'm in kingdom building. I'm in seed sowing. And sometimes that means clearing nasty brush. And sometimes the hot sun, I'm tired. And I go back to 1 Kings 19. Eat, drink, rest, or the journey is going to be too much for you. And sometimes I'm so busy doing the activity, that I forget. Poor Elijah. Jezebel's prophets are dead and now they're after me. And he sat under a broom tree and he prayed for death. And I'm going to be honest with you, when I feel sorry for myself in my 40-day Lenten season, I'm not busy like this year-round. Lent's just crazy, stupid busy for me. But I can identify with Elijah. Take my life. I'm tired. I'm done. And I bet you some of you parish folk, I'm tired of this pastor. I'm tired of this neighboring so-and-so. I'm tired. Eat, drink, rest. Wake up, eat and drink, or else the journey is going to be too much for you. And then he journeys up the Mount Horeb, I believe. And then there's that famous passage, and you know it and I know it well, huh? And Elijah was supposed to meet the Lord there and hear an earthquake. Lord's got to be in the earthquake, right? Then a fire. Lord's got to be in the fire. Burning bush Moses, yeah, it got to be. Great shaking wind. Oh, Spirit moved the waters. Maybe that's it. And then Elijah heard what? A tiny whispering sound. And Elijah hid his face in his cloak and went to the entrance of the cave. And then the next line from Almighty God. Elijah. Why are you here? Mike Patin asks, why do you still do what you do? And Elijah answered, I have been zealous for the Lord of hosts, and now they seek my life. Can you identify a little bit? When have you heard the tiny whispering sound? Jesus asked you to? Not long. Give me what you got. How do you know he asked you?
I know him, and there was a day I was like, do I do youth ministry or do I finish school? What do I do? And he said, do youth ministry. So here I am.
Time out. You're going to think I'm poking fun. I promise you I'm not. Did you hear a voice? Did you have a feeling? Was it something confirmed? Give me a little bit of, not super specific, but give me something.
I had a feeling, and then my mom told me that I should do it.
A confirmation.
A confirmation, and then I got hired in a place about 1,000 miles from where I live, with people I didn't know, it was kind of crazy. So, yeah.
That's kind of Jesus-esque, yeah. Kind of crazy, kind of crazy. But watch, there's no one story. You said called as well. How do you know you're called? And you can repeat an answer or give me something different. I'm very curious about how God calls people. This is a genuine curiosity. I don't have an answer to this because I'm learning there is no one. Give me your answer.
I took classes and didn't know what I was going to do with them. We moved to Erie. 15 years later, our parish was looking for a DRE. I said, I'll help you find somebody. And guess who they found?
Famous last words.
And ever since then, I keep asking God, like, do you want me here? Do you want me here? And the peace that comes whenever I hear, yes, I want you here.
The peace that comes. Any other people? There's no right, wrong. I'm very curious about this notion of being called.
I was asked 3 different times by our pastor to be the youth minister because I was getting really excited. And the 3rd time, I kept saying to God, if this is the path you want, then make this happen. And it would happen.
Repetition.
And
Repetition.
The 3rd time I said, if you really want me to do this job, a youth needs to tell me. And a youth came to me and said, I heard that you're going to be the youth minister. I said, I didn't say yes yet. He said, you need to say yes.
So watch this. Peter, do you love me? Peter, do you love me? Peter, do you love me? Jonah, I am not going to Nineveh. Well, guess what? You're about to be whale vomit. Okay, well, now I'm going to Nineveh. There's something about this call and invitation being persistent. Jeremiah, I will not speak your name again. These people seek my life. Are you crazy? I want to quit talking about you, but it burns like a fire in my bones. My wife heard me one time. She goes, you ought to be in sales. I am. I just ain't as passionate about widgets. Not that there's anything wrong with that at all. Anybody else call? Yes, ma'am.
My pastor asked me, I did not have the education. I said I would be a teacher. I was really sad to hear. My first day on the job, I got an email from Patin Peterson, and at the very bottom it said, God does not
Call the qualified, but qualifies the called.
And I had a sense of peace, and I've been there for 1 year.
I want to say a few things, and then I want to break for lunch. We might be 5 minutes late. Tell the people. All right, listen to this. A couple of things. Number one, this notion of call intrigues me greatly because I have some mistaken notions about the call, and I'm going to share a couple of them with you. I'm going to give you some general, some specific, and then I'm going to get in your face nasty before lunch. All right? Signs were called. I have these mistaken notions. Number one, it's going to be Hollywood-style production. You can't miss it. It's going to be Steven Spielberg directed. It's going to be grandiose. Moses and the burning bush. You can't miss that. St. Paul knocked you off your horse on your behind one time. I don't know if it would take the job or finish school. Like Jesus is going to send 12 doves over your house in the sign of a cross. Go and be a youth minister. Go and be a youth minister. Go and be a youth minister. Number one. Number two, he only picks the brightest, the best, the Hollywood, the handsome, the studly. Look at me. Ha-ha! I have the only body in America steroids has rejected as hopeless. It's only for the smart people. It's only for the holy people. It's only for the nuns. It's only for. Mistake number two. And mistake number three, he only calls you one time. Better not turn your back on him. Strike three, Michael, you're out. But I want to talk to us about some mistaken notions we have about Jesus. Because look at me. When you start naming all them unclear expectations, look at me in the face. This is big. Some of us have expectations of ourselves that Jesus Christ does not have for us. Because I guarantee you, when I sit with Jesus and we start looking at the slideshow of my life, the PowerPoint, I'm going to be like, spoke to 23,000, click. Did service work in Mexico, click. Gave some money in the collection plate, click. Helped the kid, did it, click. Jesus is going to be like, awesome. Click. When did you and me talk? Click. This is your wife. Does she know me because of the way you loved her? Click. This is your daughter. Does she know something of a father's love because of the way you handled it, even when she didn't do what you wanted? See, because I messed up, because I put bigger expectations on myself than God does. God doesn't expect martyrdom, but some of us, and don't get me wrong, you know why we moan and whine and complain to one another? Because there ain't no place to do it. And we don't get enough positive strokes. So when we get together like, oh, man, I don't get no catechist, and we moan and whine and bellyache. I believe Jesus Christ is going to pull me aside when I start moaning and complaining that I had to be in airports, blah, blah, blah. I think He's going to pull me aside and do one of them V8 or Jethro Gibbs back of the head things like, hey, supposed to be good news, buddy. Remember that part? And we wonder how come we don't get catechists. Our church, announcements after communion. Our church is looking for a 9th grade catechist. If no one comes forward, our children will not receive the rich deposit of faith handed on to us from the apostles. Anybody will do. And we wonder why nobody shows up. Like Jesus put flyers on the phone pole, I'm looking for 12. Anybody want a job? It's not martyrdom for the Lord's sake. And we don't have to be extroverts to do this, but is there any enthusiasm left? Enthusiasm from the Greek word entheos, in God. Huh? God expects full-time ministry. Say yes always. One of my favorite things, it's in the book there, but I think it's downloadable. There's a section on my website, I think it's called Downloads. You can do that. And there's this wonderful passage, when Jesus said no, and it's a list in Scripture of all the times Jesus said no. Hey, we'd like to make you king. No. Hey, stay in the village, heal some more people. No. Hey, can we sit at your right and your left? No. See, we got this mistaken picture of Jesus. Jesus always said yes. No, Jesus left. Let the apostles go for 2 weeks. Tired of them freaks. And they were His friends. But some of us stay at that job, stay at that job, stay at that job because we were going to meet every need. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Sometimes one of the biggest forms of selfishness is neglect. Because then I'm not energetic to serve anybody else. And if the Son of God stopped to go on the hill, and the Son of God took a break, and the Son of God honored the Sabbath, I think I'm in line for a Pharisee merit badge. Yep. God is concerned with numbers. No, your pastor is, the budget is, but if you judge Jesus by the numbers, He did good on Free Fish Friday. He was killing them on Free Fish Friday. But on Good Friday, it was His mama and John, not a big crowd on the Good Friday. It's not about numbers and programs. It's about relationships. It's about meeting people where they are. And God sees me only in my role as minister. I got buddies of mine who will call me on the phone. Hey, speaker boy. Their nickname for me is .com. They do. They call me .com. Oh, he .com. You got a website. Woo. Hey, .com. We knew you before you were speaker boy. You wasn't all that then. You ain't all that now. We ain't seen you because you're busy saving the world. We need to drink, play cards, and talk trash. Bring your money. We need saving too. See, because I'm not just a speaker guy. I'm more than my ministry. And here's what I want to say to you as we get ready for lunch. I believe we're called to this, but I'm going to tell you something that you ain't going to like. If this ministry does not bring you closer to the person of Jesus Christ and your friendship with Him, I need you to reconsider staying. Authentic witnesses who have seen Him and touched Him and not just heard about Him. And I'm a hypocrite because I struggle with that as well. But my call is a call to something very personal, because I believe I've even been given speaker boy season in my life because the Lord Jesus wants to get closer to me. My favorite prayer at Eucharist is one we gloss over. After the presider has prepared the table, my brothers and sisters, pray that your sacrifice and mine may be acceptable to God, the Father Almighty, or whatever the exact words are. May the Lord accept the sacrifice at your hands for three things: for the praise and glory of His name, for our good, and the good of the church. You and I are given this ministry to help us grow our friendship with God. Not just to help young people. And some of us, they look like walk-in trees because maybe Jesus is saying, poof! Look again. I want you to see me first. Because then maybe your sight can be restored to see these other people who love something, lost something, struggling with something, searching for something. My dear friends, our primary call, and I know you know this, but somebody every once in a while has to, today it's my privilege, and a humbling one because I know I have to swallow the pill I'm distributing. We are given this privilege to minister because John 15, you did not choose me. I chose you. I call you my friends. I chose you to go and bear fruit. Go plant seeds. Where's your friendship with God? In this busy season of Lent, where is your friendship with God? Because He still calls us. There are seasons within the call. There are seasons within the seasons. I know I'm supposed to be in ministry, but there are subtle calls within that. I'm not locked into speaker boy forever, and I don't mean my job. I'm called to certain things, qualities, friendships, attentions, payings, while I'm doing the ministry. And sometimes the ministry heightens my awareness of that stuff. You might be called to church work. What are you called to with the person of Jesus at this stage of your journey right now? What season might you be in? You don't have to have the answer today. We have to start paying attention to that question because we are called. And it is a continual 3 times, 5 times, 70 times, 7 times.